Welcome to Trading Lounge and the S&P 500 and looking at the turn here now of wave 4, and we'll look at that closely in a moment. But before we do that, I just want to point out there's two possibilities for to find this low down here. And one of them is it all starts with this situation up here. Now, I don't think this is the case, but I just want to put it forward first, and then we'll look at the original count. But it's possible that we get wave 5 down of 3 here, then 4, then 5 down. So basically an extra bounce, an extra leg. Now, I don't think that's the case, even though it looks like that. This situation here, I think that this is actually part of this B wave. I think it's actually part of this one here, and this one actually nestles in here like this here. Yeah, we don't really need to go to this just yet as such here, but I think this is more of the count here. So having wave 5 of C of 4 in place here is the right count, but we should just be aware of that other situation there, and we won't be able to work that out until we start to see this move here coming up off the low here. If we see it as corrective in 3 waves, then we'll need to revert back to that wave count that I've just mentioned to you there. So at this stage, it's not the bias. And we're really following the track on the Dow Jones Transports and a few others like that as well. So I believe that this is the count here, and would be looking for obviously 5 waves to move down into 1800 here. The other point here too that has to be put out is that really when we look at wave 4 so far, it's actually quite simple, isn't it? So it may end up coming in in a more complicated situation. Whereas if I took the low here, for example, and pop that on the top there, just roughly speaking, and then looking at this as the 50-60% sort of retracement level here, we'll just remove that now. So it's quite possible that we get some sort of B wave into here, and then another C wave up, and then down here as well. So wave 4s tend to be complicated. So far, it's quite simple. I mean, it's quite complex, but it really just looks like the first leg. The other point to all this too is that wave 4s can develop triangle patterns too. So an A wave, a B wave, a C wave, a D wave, and an E wave, and then down from here as well. So wave 4s tend to get complicated, so we just need to monitor it somewhat. But our first bet is that this move down here is in 5 waves, back in 3, and then down in 5 here. So this will be either an ABC, or it will come into a 3rd wave and move lower through here, which I think could be the case as well, then a 4th, then a 5th wave down into this space here. So on the, say, 2-hour chart, just sort of drilling in here a little bit, this is how we've got it pegged here. And this would mean that we're going to get a consolidation and a bit of support around the 1900 here as the first leg down through here, then back up here as wave 2, and then wave 3 should get us down here somewhere, wave 4 and wave 5 coming down through here. I wouldn't expect it to come down that sort of past the 1800, but we certainly expect it. Let's just have a look at the structure the time it gets to the 1800 here. Okay, yeah, on the 15-minute chart here. So far here, we can start counting this here as wave 1, wave 2 here. Just having a bit of a guess here. wave 3, 4, 5, 4, for wave 3, wave 4 will come back here, wave 5 will be here. I can just work on the hop here for a second, and this one here, wave 1 here, wave 2 back here somewhere, so we're looking something, wave 4, wave 5, probably just into here, and then an A and a B and a C wave here. We should be looking at this coming back. I'm just taking it below there a little bit. So, so we're kind of looking for a bounce back into this space here. I have to say on the cash market at 1940 here, if I can just highlight this, which just sort of grabs my attention here. There's a gap at 1940 here on the cash market here. So we'll just be mindful of that as well. That can be covered here. So basically I'm playing it down here, but there is a little gap at 1940 on the cash market in here that we need to be aware of, because it should be filled. So maybe we'll take a close, even though we're playing this to the downside here. Be careful about shorting, because we'll watch this 5 waves play out. If we get it, that's good. That tells us that if we get 5 waves here, then we'll get another 5 waves over here after wave 2 is finished. So this will be the sort of shorting area here. But because the gap's up here, we also need to be mindful that that the market could move further up. So we don't have. We were expecting a turn, a top, and we're expecting a turn, and we've got that. And now we're trying to get the evidence of a move down through here. And obviously, if you're going to short, that 1900 would be significant in being under that as a resistance. At the same time, if we get 5 here and 3 here, then it probably pays to have a very small positions on this side here coming down, but it will also be bouncy as well coming through. This coming through here as well through group 1. If it's going to be coming down through here, this kind of support to resistance here will occur at each of these levels here and tend to bounce around a lot, just like it does with these guys here as well. Now the Dow Jones is exactly the same, which is on the 4-hour chart here. We were looking somewhere close to this number here, the medium level 1650, and that's coming quite nicely. As I said, we need to be mindful that wave 4s, we tend to make mistakes. You can end up making 2 or 3 mistakes in wave 4 quite easily. So it's a really good idea to if it was a wave 2, for instance, then you would move in quite quickly with all of this. But with wave 4s, it's best to wait till they really sort of mature and you're really sort of spot on where you are here, because these guys can get complicated. I mean, in a nutshell, we've got 3 waves here. So there's and that could be the end of it. But there's also the possibility that, as I mentioned, it can turn into a larger triangle pattern. So, and get more complicated, get you trapped in there, I think our target being wave 4 here is pretty safe at this stage as being high in. So I'm quite comfortable that the market won't come back to there, except for that gap at 1940 on the S&P 500. So that's one little signal warning thing that we need to play out here. The 15-minute chart's much the same as I mentioned with the other market as well. It's not confirmed yet, but we are looking at a possible 5 waves down here, and this is how it will play out. I've left this trend line in through here that comes in through the lows here, because this market will play out, on both sides of this trend line here. Not that it matters because, we've got 16,000 here as well, which is really the elephant in the room in terms of where orders are going to be floating around on as such. But this is the general pattern that we'll look at. And yeah, let's just see how we go. I'll just see if there's a gap on the cash market for the Dow Jones as well. Yeah, there is, and it's in this little area here. So we've got a little gap in here as well. I just think that we just need to point them out. I mean, the gaps are not important on all markets. The ASX 200, the gaps aren't important, but on the actual SPY contract itself, the futures contract for the ASX 200, that gap is very important. Every point would need to be covered on that futures market because there's a buyer and seller for each contract, so that would need to be covered. But the S&P 500 gaps on the cash tend to be valid as well. So different markets, different things. Just going to save that there, but this is the pathway that we're looking at. So really, even if you're shorting, it's sort of over here on this one that we're looking for. We want to confirm that we've got the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here. That should be a 5, 3, and 5 structure here. So tracking 5 waves in the C wave here is where you would build into the short, and you would build in all the way down through here because wave 3 would be longer than wave 1 here. Okay, that's it. Cheers.